Are we on? Is this it?
We're on!
All right. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of ComicBook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and today it is a simple day because it is Superman Day. Superman is in theaters, and we are here to talk about it. It's time to talk about the hierarchy of power in the DCU and if it's changing, or we're just going to have a big, like, angry post Snyder retrospective.
Oh no.
What's it going to be? We're going to all find out here together momentarily. So let's just get right into it. Good morning, Janelle. Good morning, Matt. But today is about really two things. Today, it's Superman Day. It's also Clips Day. But we'll say
Clips Day.
Very, very, very tail end of this broadcast. So we'll get into that then. But let's start at the top with Superman. And I'm going to actually take a back seat on this one and kick it to my good buddy, Matthew Aguilar, who is not always here to see movies on opening day with me, but he made an extra special effort to get out and see Superman this week. So, Matt, we're always curious because let's just set the stage here. You are rather, unlike Janelle, you're more ambivalent about James Gunn. You don't give him as much bail as Janelle tends to shoot him. I don't go ham about it, but I tend to like James Gunn myself. I was a fan of James Gunn before he got into Guardians, and I'm a fan of like a lot of his secondary or side projects, the Belko Experiment. But I'm always curious because you are very much, as our comic, expert, somebody who is very pronounced about your love for Superman. You've been covering like the new creative runs in the comics the last few years. You've done it all, buddy. So how does this depiction of the Man of Steel hit for you?
Man, I think you nailed it right there when you said, like, I'm a fan of the comics, right? And I'm a fan of what they've been doing with the character. And so to have a movie that embraces that is number one. Even we've had conversations about the Snyderverse to so many right over the years, and if you want to listen to those, you should, because they're fun. But it embraced comics as well, just in a different way. But this one, like, Superman truly embraces so many of the elements that feel like they really did just like step out of a comic book, and it does so not in the like 2000s way of, oh wow, isn't this corny, and like side eye and looking over here and like making a joke of it. It just says, no, this is like what we are, who we are, and we're gonna like lead with that. And that all of the elements here throughout the entire movie, that is to me like one of those like front and center things, like we're unapologetic about it. And it makes the comics fan in me beam. But the other thing too is that we've talked about it a lot with Absolute Superman, especially, but also in the core runs, about how Superman is one of those things where it's like it's about the character being human and how he relates to people of Earth and how he relates to everybody around him, right? All the Kryptonian stuff and everything is an element, but it's always about the character wanting to be just to like help the people that he now considers family. He now considers his peers. And even if he hasn't, this Superman very much has the like he's only not your friend because he hasn't met you yet vibe. there's a little bit of that to this Superman, and I feel like this movie gets that. James Gunn gets that. And so I just yeah, I mean, I don't want to go on and on, but you know, there's a heart to this, and I just love how they personified Kal-El and Superman. Like they get it. This is a character that wants to be here, but also it's just, you know, caught up in all of the red tape and political sides. Like that is what a modern day Superman is. Even in the comics, right? Nothing is cut and dry. Nothing is, no decision doesn't have ripple effects. All of those things are dealt with here. And this movie leads with heart, and it leads with, hey, we're from the comics. This is a character that has decades of comics relevance, and we're not going to shy away from that. So I dug it. I think James Gunn did a great job.
Oh, I didn't expect you to stop there. All right, but I guess that's how you feel.
Curious to what you think.
So, okay, let's get into it. First, as I said in kind of my initial tweet, and as I've been saying for a long time, I think we took a turn somewhere in the 2010s with comic book movies where, because of the Dark Knight and everything that did, we all kind of got sucked into this whole idea that comic book movies are, you know, they're for us. And if they're not aiming it at a more sophisticated or adult crowd, they're not tapping into the full, but blah, 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 blah about the, you know, the medium, whatever. Like, I think what we lost in all that is that these are fundamentally supposed to be kind of mythology and stories for kids. And we really kind of lost that in translation. And Superman is that character that is very much something that is supposed to be like this aspiration we all get to, but it's supposed to be primarily for kids. Like, that's your first archetypal superhero kind of experience. And there's a reason he's supposed to be this the kind of most idealistic, good-natured kind of you know, all shucks kind of old-fashioned values type of way, while still championing the whole idea of just, you know, fairness and hope, and that everybody matters. Like, he looks at an entire planet of people worth protecting. Superman is at once kind of like above all these phrases that we are so caught up in, but very much, as he kind of explicitly says in this movie, very human, very flawed and contradictory, and has to deal with all that. And so I think this movie does all that, but also puts it on a level for kids, right? My son came away from this changed by, you know, he didn't think about Superman. It wasn't part of his matrix. You know, Tony Stark, all this stuff, like, he grew up with that, but Superman has been not in focus. He hasn't cared. He hasn't wanted to sit down and watch any of those old movies. You can't show him Man of Steel, or I mean, you could, but he's not into it. You know, in Superman in the animated series, there's no clout there for him to grasp onto. He doesn't have a bunch of peers cheering on Superman. Like, it's just not part of his world until now. And now it very much is part of his world, and he really kind of enjoyed this. So that's, I have to set that aside on its own, because I think that's its own accomplishment. This did for my son kind of what the Donner film did for me, in terms of making Superman this iconic hero for me. For me, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together before I sneeze here. Excuse me. For me, it was a lot of different things. First, this was obviously a new focus on Superman, excuse me, but also the launch of a whole DCU. So that was kind of course, you know, for what we do, I couldn't avoid all that, and just kind of balancing, how does this all work as a universe? Was this an actual story being told? Is it just like a chapter of a universe? How does that work? All those things we ask about, like MCU movies. And then just overall, like, was it fun? Did I enjoy it? Was it I'm just there picking it apart? And I have to say, the biggest surprise for me was how well James Gunn was able to suck me into the, oh Jesus, pause. Just bring me in. I see you up there. Was able to bring me into the world of this DCU. And if you don't know, this movie has a very funny opening that throws this kind of math at you with this kind of theme of threes. It says like 300 years ago, like metahumans first appeared. 30 years ago, like, a ship landed on Earth with an alien baby. 3 years ago, Superman first appeared to the world and started, saving things. 30 minutes ago, something happened with Superman invaded this nation of Aravia and started international incidents. 3 minutes ago, Superman just lost his first fight. And that's where we get the kind of scene where he crashes in the Arctic. And that's the opening of the movie. But like James Gunn does a good job of just weaving you immediately into this world, giving you clear kind of timestamps of where you are, like when you are, like the beginning of a comic book, and kind of how much history has passed underneath you before we've gotten to this film. So already you're kind of in it. And the movie this is one of the best examples I've ever seen of balancing what it is to tell a focused character story and about something and about a specific arc and incident and kind of what it's about. In this case, how does Superman in the modern world deal with things like international conflict and stuff like that, while using it to reflect a larger point about who Superman is and why he chooses to be who he is, even in this complex modern world, while also giving us so many other brushstrokes of the DCU that make the whole thing feel fun. So where I walked away like wholly invested in this. And it did something Marvel didn't do, which is I dug this version of Superman, which is very much a PG-13 film that I was able to bring my kid to. And it still felt like it fits within the same kind of zany world as Creature Commandos, which is much more hardcore and adult. And I still am like, man, I want to see what Corn Sweat Superman does next. But I'm also curious, like, where General Flag ends up next in Peacemaker. I'm also curious what a Clayface body horror movie looks like in comparison to this. But I'm interested in it all. Like, I want to see it all. It all sounds pretty good. And if we can do this film, which is juggling so many different elements at once, and have it feel like a real, immersive, lived-in world that is fun to be in, that was the real challenge to me. And I think Gunn knocked that out of the park. Like, the DCU feels like a place. It feels like a playground. And it feels like one that is kind of like Marvel, but slightly more unhinged and like just a little bit crazier and zanier than Marvel will possibly get with its kind of formulas. And I dig it. And having this Superman, this movie establishes firmly that no matter what the rest of the DCU is going to look like, the centerpiece is this Superman, who around whom like the rest of this is going to revolve. And this movie gives you what that looks like that kaiju scene with the Justice Gang and all of that, or even just the fake out scene that I love with the orb in the sky that used to be. Oh boy. Of course you have the merch already. You're a nut.
Ah!
Matt is holding up the kaiju, like the big toy. He's got it.
And it has ooze that comes out of the chest when you punch it.
Of course it does. But no, so like, yeah, that was all good. And yeah, that orb fake out, because we were all like speculating, is this like, oh, is this a Sun Eater thing? And then it turned out to be this whole other thing in the movie that's kind of a fake out gag. But that scene was kind of profound because we were just seeing Superman just like chilling for a minute, and then he looks out the window and there's a whole other set of heroes, right? Like flying around taking on stuff. So that's the kind of thing like that James Gunn has already kind of pulled off. Instead of, we're not building up solo hero stories, this stuff is already there. It's already established. And he did it. And like I said, there were wonderful shades of so many different things. We even have articles about like how many storylines you could go from here and how many things it kind of sets up. But yeah, so the playground was fun. But yeah, I also got very kind of emotional about the actual focused Superman story. And while this story is very kind of zany and lighthearted and very kind of not taking itself overly seriously, I mean, that whole Jimmy Olsen subplot is so unserious, but there are moments where, yeah, it does land and it hits home. Like the whole thing about, from the trailers that got us with the kid and the flag is even more profound in the
Yes.
movie. And it doesn't go the way like a lot of these pundits are screaming about wokeness and all this. Like it doesn't even go that way. How that has to get all resolved and everything. But they're just, again, for where I am in my life, there's a whole different angles about fathers and sons and family and identity and all of that. And that's really powerful in this. This Pa Kent kind of nails it out of the park. Pruitt. Although I gotta know, because even Constantine in every movie he's in, he has this thing where his eyes like shift back and forth like really fast whenever he's like acting, and I'm like, I gotta know what that's about. But that's just me. But yeah, all that stuff.
I gotta give props to Damon's comment about I was waiting for Jimmy to turn into a giant turtle.
That can happen in this universe, which is crazy. Like
you brought up that point of, because I think that's so true, and I think it's true of the comics too, is that DC gets a little zanier than Marvel. And I feel like you look at the absolute universe right now, even compared to the Ultimate Universe, there's some zany stuff happening in the DC universe and even the regular line. And I feel like that's just like, that's kind of become their thing, right? They'll get a little goofy, they'll get a little weird, they'll get a little brutal and sinister at times. It's just, they're always, it feels like willing to kind of go to that other place that sometimes like Marvel stays here. And DC will go out here sometimes and isn't afraid to do that. And I think you're right, though. Like this film embraces that. And even though they are so different, Creature Commandos and Superman still feel the same level of goofy. Like those things, they're playing in the same toy box, and it does feel like that, even though they are playing it in very different points of the toy box. They're still in there. They're still in the same world, and they play off each other really well. But I mean, the heart moments do land to me, even though they, aren't, Creature Commandos, I mean, had some brutal moments, but like they weren't, that shows like essentially a mature R show and has all that room to do. I felt like even in that PG-13 spot, Superman has some moments that like will knock you back. And I do want to also shine some light on Rachel Brosnahan's Lois.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, almost too much chemistry. My son looked at me a couple points like he had questions I wasn't prepared to answer. I was like, yeah.
That's adorable.
I mean, when those two started making out, they started making out for real. I was like, oh.
She is my favorite movie Lois.
Yeah, I think she's
I feel like I can say that she's all of my, and to be clear, all of my favorite Superman Loises on screen have been in the TV realm. I've always preferred actually the TV Loises compared to the movie Loises. And for me, Amy Adams almost has an asterisk because I always felt like she wasn't given enough to do, because she was great in the part she had. It's just like she didn't get a lot to do there, but I thought she could have done them if she actually had kind of the room.
No,
but
she had like the spunk and all that. Like,
she was great in the parts we saw her, and in the very limited amount that she actually had, she was great. So I felt like in the right context, she would have been amazing. But like the TV Loises have always been better to me. And so this is the first movie Lois where I'm like, oh, all right, that's my Lois Lane. Like,
well,
that's
ironically, she already conquered the TV screen as a kind of Lois Lane and Miss Maisel. But
pretty much.
Yeah, no, she was great. And like this was a great balance of Lois. Like they hinted, I liked a lot of the brushstrokes that kind of required you to know certain things. Like they don't really touch on it, but like that her dad's like a general, like that's like all, that she has some kind of knowledge and that she's like tough in the field and stuff. But she was great. And like the scene in the Justice Hall with her, like just taking Superman out of it and giving her scenes alone and giving her scenes where, again, we get to do things in this that we don't, where Lois has to talk to other heroes of this universe and stuff. Like, yeah, that was hilarious. Like, all of that was really good. But yeah, a lot of questions about how super babies are made when some of these scenes took place. I was like, oh boy. Beautiful scene in that arcade where they showed in the trailers. This movie is a great showcase of why trailers can't tell you really ish about anything.
Right.
Like, you need full context, because that scene in the arcade, that hovering like kiss scene thing, so much like it's so much more beautiful and crazy in the movie. Like, it's just, yeah, and how that fits in. One thing I hard disagree with in Secret Dance Move. I'm sorry you didn't like this movie. We're not the show that makes people, we're not a cult, so we don't tell people you have to like it. We're cool if you don't. But I think it's crazy that you didn't like Holt as Lex Luthor, because I think Holt is also my favorite Lex Luthor.
Oh,
Right. Well, I think he's up there with
bold.
Rosenbaum. He's up there with Rosenbaum for me.
Well, see, I differentiate because he's TV. So
yeah.
I'm like, if he's
Well, I mean,
like
we were talking
Michael
about-
Rosenbaum's
we were
my
talking about
favorite
Lois
Luthor.
Lane across
Well,
New York.
man, though, you have
Rosenbaum-
animated Luthor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Clancy
Brown.
If we're talking animation, Clancy Brown. I mean, you really can't believe
It's hard.
questionably black Clancy Brown voiced Lex Luthor. Like, there's no beating that.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of live action Lex Luthor's, I loved Nicholas Hoult. I feel like Nicholas Hoult did what Jesse Eisenberg thought he could do with Lex Luthor, as like what a modern day sociopathic tech billionaire would be like, in having his ego bruised by the fact that there's this Kryptonian getting all the world's attention. Holt was like, I mean, again, they put a lot of these shots in the trailer, but like just a shot of him losing it and like crying and being like angry at the end and all of that, like when the mask finally slips off, like just great performance. And Nicholas Hoult is like, at this point, just like one of the goats of his generation. Like, from Warm Bodies to X-Men to the Menu to this, like the kid's nice, man.
Anything.
Like, and I loved this Lex who never once gets his hands dirty, and always has, like, literally he can walk through with that smarmy grin and has everybody doing everything. Some people didn't like the kind of video game instructional thing they did. I loved that. Like, those are the idiosyncratic things that make a movie good, right? Like some random motif that James Gunn just creates for this and throws in there, where Lex Luthor's just calling out commands and to execute like Ultraman's fights. 1A, 1A, 1A. Like, yeah. Like, hilarious stuff, just random hilarious stuff. And that's what I like about like this movie. It wasn't a formula. It didn't feel like a bunch of, that's it right there, right? Like, it didn't feel like it was, unlike sometimes the Marvel movies, which has like 20 writers in it. Like, it felt like it was from the mind of James Gunn. Like, there are weird things about it. There are weird idiosyncratic things about it. And just like, yeah, random choices that are just thrown in the movie, from the motif of crypto to the motif about, like, you know, computer gaming commands and stuff like that. All of that is in there, to Jimmy Olsen. And no, I didn't feel like Jimmy Olsen was a waste of screen time. I thought that was a hilarious subplot, because when it started, I was like, where are we going with this? But by the time it lands, and it's a whole running motif. This is a real movie. A real movie has these little subplots to it, side characters, things that work out while the main story is working out and feed into the main story. And this did that. Like, Jimmy Olsen's dumb little story actually ended up mattering, right? Like, I know all the leak readers are so mad right now. I know you leak readers are mad because that leak was completely right. Everything in it was correct, and people read it on paper and were like, this can't be right. There can't be a part of this movie about Jimmy Olsen's DMs. Oh, it is a part of this movie about Jimmy Olsen's DMs. And it is fantastic. In my opinion, it was fantastic. It was hilarious. Yeah. And so let's get into some deeper points, because I had a whole set of bullet points. Janelle, is there any question you have before?
I'm like trying to fully listen, but also not fully listen, because I don't want to spoil anything for myself. So I'm kind of like in and out of the conversation and just focusing on the chat. But generally speaking, I respect what Secret Dance Move is saying about like certain like very particular moments within the film that like just did not feel great to them. But overall, I just feel like for me, this is going to be it. Like, I'm gonna love this. I can just already tell.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
did want to speak to something that Janelle brought up previously in a different show, which was like one of the things that I feel like you were fearful about coming into this movie is that like there was too much going on and there was a lot of other characters taking spotlight from Superman. So like, you know, I felt like maybe we should like just touch on that as far
Did you
as
feel that way? Like, how did it feel?
I did not, because
No,
I
not at
actually
all.
think that the trailer is actually a little misleading
Yeah.
in that it focuses it brings all those characters in to let you know, like, hey, Mr. Terrific's in this, hey, Guy Gardner's in this, we're going to be building a world. But in the actual movie, as it plays out, I don't think it was like, oh, we're going to go see what they're doing and go see their, like, it's still a Superman and even really like Clark and Lois story. Like they play a part, but they are, you know, they are supporting characters. They are
I
not
love that.
taking
Yeah.
that, for me anyway. That's what it felt like.
On paper, this is, if we're talking about like screenwriting and getting to the film school of it all, this is done very responsibly. There's a set number of characters that appear throughout the film. It may be like 10, but it's those 10. We're not getting like 15 with 5, you know, 5 of them being like random one scene appearances or anything like that. It's 10 characters that are in this film, and like we follow, and they have an arc, right? Everybody has an arc, and it all comes together by the end, so it makes sense. And so like, yeah, the Justice Gang and like all that, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl. Do we get to see everything and learn everything about these people? No. But we do get enough, again, because this makes it very clear where we are in the timeline and like what's happened versus what is going, you know, where, you know, what's happening in this particular chapter we're in. You can infer quite a bit about, you know, where they are, what their history may have been, and kind of like where they stand in relation to Superman. So it's all balanced very well. And in fact, one of the things I want to get to is how like one of the low-key MVPs of this whole movie is Eddie Gaffey as Mr. Terrific, who delivers one of the greatest lines, I think, in superhero movies of the last 10 years, which is, I don't need your help. I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific, which is, again, something that only James Gunn would think to put on Front Street as like a major flex line. But by that time you hear it, like, yeah, it's incredible. And I would watch, you know, there's been talk of a spinoff with him. And if this is how the DCU works, good, because that's exactly what I want to see at this point. Coming out this movie, I would love to see a Mr. Terrific movie with him being kind of like the more like the Iron Heart of this universe, because I mean, my man kept it all the way black, like in his voice and everything, and just the way he does stuff. I loved it. But so yeah, like this movie balances characters well, and like where Mr. Terrific fits into this is very necessary, because he's doing the tech parts that, like, if Lois and them are going into portals and things, like, you need a guy who's a tech guy for that, and that's Mr. Terrific. And the one,
so there's like a reason.
arguably, because there's a lot about this movie and a debate about action. We don't get like a Battle of Metropolis level thing in this, but then again, that's not what this movie kind of depicts Superman as being. Like, Superman saves animals during fights, you know what I mean? Like, this is what this Superman is like. He's less about wanting to hurt people and more about wanting to save people, and that's apparent in like almost every action scene. He spends most of his effort being like getting people safe or using his power, knowing he can win. It's not like Cavill, who was like super stressed about every fight, right? This guy knows he's invulnerable. This guy knows he's powerful. So it's just more for him about like, how do I handle this person without destroying as much property as possible or getting anybody else hurt while I'm doing it? Like, that's mostly his concern.
That's who the character is.
Yeah, exactly. And so
that's who Superman is. That's who he's been in the comics for a long time. That's who Superman is. We'll use his powers and step away from the main fight and have someone else buy time, like the Superman family, whatever, to go save some people, or just take the complete brunt of the attack and go, hey, go take care of these people. I got this.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He steps in front of bullets. He steps in front. That's Superman. So like he's rarely, I will say, the aggressor. He's always playing defense. And whatever the main solution is, that's why the dude takes people to space. That's why the dude takes people underwater, like to get them away from other people so that they don't get hurt. That's his MO.
And we finally do see him let loose. And when he does let loose, and it's proper, it's not a fight when this guy lets loose. By the time he finally is like, okay, enough. Like, and he's like, time to end all this. Like, it's Superman level quick. Like that scene you see in the trailers is even doper in the movie where they send an army after him and he's like, okay, enough. And like,
exactly.
And not only does it, but does it again in a way, because people were complaining about that too. But just so you haters know, like even that scene, he's doing something with such level of precision that nobody's killed. Like nobody's killed, nobody's maimed. He's not Cavill. He's not hacking off people's limbs with heat vision. Like none of that's happening. He's doing exactly what he needs to do to disable all those people. And, you know, and the scenes of that are hilarious. And how Gunn expresses that is hilarious. There's a lot of comedic scenes with everybody just being like, well, yep, didn't have a chance against Superman. Oh, well, like, yeah.
Because they've been dealing with it for a while, right?
Exactly, yeah. And so everybody, and so that's kind of the thing. But everybody is like standout in here, like even the Lex's gang, like Miss Tessemeyer and Otis, like those odes from the original get like little moments to shine. And again, we could keep going in circles, but it is just a fun world to be in, and that was kind of the challenge. Now, the big question, Matt.
Help me.
How does this live in your head next to the Snyderverse?
As a whole, or just Man of Steel? Like, are we
Man of Steel so far? Let's just keep it a Man of Steel.
As someone who liked Man of Steel, because I like Man of Steel. I don't love Man of Steel like some people do, but I like Man of Steel a lot. I enjoyed this more. Like it's to me, this is a better depiction of who Superman is. But I also will say it's hard to compare apples. Like, obviously, I understand this is not an apples to apples comparison. Man of Steel takes a very different path to get to where we kind of are in this one. You know, this one throws you right into it, and I tend to prefer those types of stories. I'm less at this point in time, unless the character is like someone like a let me pull out a newer Spider-Boy, for instance, a new character that's been introduced in the last few years where like a lot of mainstream people don't know them, right? I get having an origin story, even for someone like Doctor Strange back in the MCU when like, you know, like not everyone knew who Doctor Strange was, right? When his movie came out. I understand you doing an origin style story for them. At this point, though, if it's a character that's pretty well known, I'm going to prefer you just ditch the origin and move right into this. And I feel like, you know, Man of Steel still deals with some of that stuff more than this does. But just as like the approach, I just like this. This is the type of Superman movie I am more predisposed to liking. I think it's just like for me. So for me, it's that.
I think for me, it's an apples and oranges situation. You know, once I get out of this, once I retire from this gig and get into politics, I'm going to start my political campaign with one, you know, staunch message, which is there's only one requirement to being an American, and that is you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And if you cannot do that, you should not be in this country. You got to walk and chew gum at the same time in America. So I can walk and chew gum at the same time, which means these are two very different Superman things. One of them, Gunn's Superman, is like people are saying. This is like the character. This is like being in the cartoon or comics with the character, like having him be this kind of active living presence in it. To me, Snyder's was more like somebody writing a college dissertation about Superman and Superman mythology.
Agreed.
And like what it touches upon, what all the references to Judeo-Christian imagery and text, and how this part of Superman comes from this Roman Greco design and all of this stuff. It was high art study literature. This is a comic. Okay, you know what? Let's simplify this. Gunn's is a comic book, while Snyder's is like a novel about Superman, right? These are two very different things. I don't feel like in Man of Steel, and I don't think I realized this until I watched this Superman, is like, I don't feel like I'm with the character in that movie. I feel like I'm observing the character from a place of like reverence and like, oh, but I'm not with him. This Superman is with me. You know what I mean? He's like of the people. For Snyder, Superman was this god that was above people. For Gunn, it's the very thing of him being a god who wants to be a person. And that's the difference. And so I think that comes across pretty staunchly in both of these movies. And I don't hate either of them.
Right.
Like I pick up a DC Prestige book sometimes to read a Superman story that's deep and profound. Like Kingdom Come is not like reading an issue of good. Mark Waid's Superman. You know what I mean? Those are two very different, or
and they're both awesome.
Superman, and both awesome, but both very different.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I still love Man of Steel. There are certain things even people have said in the comments that I enjoy more in Man of Steel. I think I don't think this movie can, if for some of the fun action sequences we get, you know, I think it says something that Mr. Terrific steals the action scene, you know, award for this movie from Superman, while as the Battle of Metropolis is still one of the best action scenes I think I've ever seen in film. Like, just,
I think that comes from Snyder's ability to like blend action visuals. Cause like I will say like the next Batman has as far as the action department will have to do a lot to ever surpass the Batman intro fight scene. That scene is ridiculously brutal at times because it's too much, right? But like I freaking love that scene. That is like, if I was really watching Batman, that is what he would do. That Batman scene.
And that's the other, I think you just nailed it because I forgot, but that's the thing that also we've changed. We've changed fundamentally. This movie is Snyder's like biggest, most fundamental rejection of us being on that 2010s post Nolan. Everything has to be grounded in the real world type attitude, right? Because that's what we were on. We were like, Man of Steel is very much in, you know, what if Superman actually existed in this real world? What would it be like? What would it be like with him fighting? What would it be like with him, you know, all that stuff. In Batman, same way. Like if you're out there fighting criminals with AR, you know, automatic modified rifles and rocket launchers and stuff, yeah, Batmobile's going to have some gats in it. Like that's Snyder's kind of cynical take on the world's gotten crazier. These superheroes would have to act crazier to curtail all this. Gunn Superman is very much what would Superman be in the real world, but it's like I think I was watching a video of Mark Waid recently at a convention. He was telling about his favorite Superman story, which changed things for him, which was Superman owes $1 billion, which is this like, it's like in Superman 138 or something, is the first time that it goes from like the kids fantasy to bringing in something like the IRS and like telling the story. And the whole arc of the story is a tax guy figures out that Superman owes taxes as like a, you know, as a citizen, and for all the things he's kind of, or owes the government in back taxes for all the things he's destroyed while superheroing. And it goes through all these things where Superman then goes out and tries to make $1 billion to pay his tax tab because he's Superman. And he's like, oh gosh, golly, I got to take care of this. But Superman can't, for all his efforts, can't earn $1 billion. And then basically has to come back and be like, sorry, I ain't got it. But then this other tax guy comes in and says, wait a minute. Like, you can deduct dependents from your taxes, and all of planet Earth is technically like Superman's dependent. And so, like, if anything, we owe you money. Thank you, Superman. Like, and that's the end of the story.
Fantastic.
But that's
I
what
have not
Gunn
read
is
those.
doing,
Awesome.
right? That's essentially what Gunn has done. That's why that clip popped up. This is what if Superman lived in the real world, but within a comic book, right? And so it's doing, whereas Snyder is, what if Superman lived in the real world, But yeah, so this is and I think that's what makes this safer, right? For all the talk about politics and all this is not a political film. It's a comic book. And so the point is, we can get out of the realm of the complicated realm of politics and just throw you this ideal. Superman's a guy who is just trying to do good. He doesn't want to see people get hurt on either side for any reason. He's not adhering to any one politic or anything. The scene with his parents let you know, yeah, it's that good old down home American. They're simple, not in a derogatory way. They believe in the farm with the cows, the weather, taking care of your neighbor, all that stuff, right? And so, yeah, I think Gunn does a good job of reminding us that in a safe comic book context. Because, while the angry mob is outside throwing beer cans at him, we have Guy Gardner come in and block out the windows with green light. So that's the kind of world we're playing in. So I think it was very well balanced and well done. Where do you want to see Corn Sweat's Superman pop up next, Matt? Gunn has indicated that we might not get a straight up sequel. He's talked to some guy on YouTube whose name I don't remember, but he said that we may not be getting a straight up sequel to this. Do you think we're going to get because there is some of this that is very much feels like not quite like Man of Steel, but there's, again, similar aspects to what Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel were doing with how Superman fits into a modern context. Do you think Gunn pulls the reverse Uno card because we got Batman versus Superman from the DCEU? Do we get a World's Finest movie from this?
Man, wouldn't that be like the ultimate? There's like, man, wouldn't that be I almost kind of now want to see that where, it was, and I know that was, as more details have come out about the original Snyder plan, that wasn't supposed to be the plan. We weren't supposed to move into Batman v Superman right away. It was supposed to, I understand that wasn't how, but just how ultimately things worked out. You literally had Man of Steel and then Superman versus Batman. Like that would be interesting to then do that same thing, not back to back though, because we are going to get Supergirl, we are going to get Lanterns. There's going to be other things in between those, regardless, because they're already scheduled, they're already filming and all that. So it's not going to be direct, but it would be interesting for like Superman's big return to the big screen to be alongside Batman. That would kind of be poetic in a way, especially if it does super well. I think John Smith brought it up. Obviously, I think the very next place you see him is probably Supergirl because of some sort of cameo or whatever. Maybe at the end or whatever, because part of the Superman family. I think like that's, to me, that's like a duh type of thing of like just a quick pop up. I think that's the very next place you see him. But as far as like an actual getting him involved in a movie, yeah, I don't see them doing a Superman 2 right away. I think we get one. Depending on how this one does and everything, but I think we get one at some point. But I think it would actually probably make more sense the way this universe is being laid out for him to be partnered up with someone else and like it's a dual story, whether that's like Superman and Lobo, World's Finest, Superman and the Legion, whatever, like that kind of pairing is what I'm talking about. I don't think they're going to do a Legion movie soon. And I don't think a Lobo movie is coming soon, but that would be more the approach. I do think that you would see Superman leading with someone, and those two kind of being their own movie, leading to other big things or whatever. I think that would be the thing, and I'm okay with that.
I think personally they should go World's Finest next. I think it ticks a lot of boxes that we need ticked. I think it delays the whole Brave and the Bold situation until after the Batman 2, which is key. And I think it's important in some ways to maybe have a movie that starts with Superman again, but having a problem he can't figure out on his own and having to go for his old frenemy buddy, his old frenemy across the way. Because we did get, did anybody notice, we did get a little Batman Easter egg in this movie, right? Did anybody spot that?
What'd you say? Sorry.
The little Easter egg we got in this movie?
It's
it's in the third act. There's a Gotham City reference.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So, I think it'd be important to establish some kind of grounds where we get to interact with Batman alone first, and just to get to know the character. But again, in the way that Superman did it, Batman's already there. He's already established. We're not going through an origin. This is not a beginning. We just have Superman and him team up for some kind of investigation, right? And maybe we can get even more Lex, Joker, all that stuff, the major stuff. So we know who Batman is by the end of this movie, right? So then when we go into the Brave and the Bold, and we're introducing like Batman being a father, the Bat family, all that, we don't have to waste screen time anymore. We know who this Batman is.
No more pearls.
We know how he operates. We have reasons to think he's goated or hyped if the movie sells him to us as a fun counterpoint to this Superman. We nail a lot of things out of the way with that. And the world those two would be kind of running around in is going to give us so much of a bigger picture of the DCU, right? If Batman and Superman are running around trying to solve something, it's going to go all over the place. And so I think it also sets us for a few steps closer to that core element of a Justice League for this universe.
Yeah.
So I think it would be smart to, and you're going to get eyeballs on it because people are going to, and I think Gunn is beginning to learn how to do the Mr. Miyagi of this all, to take the hype, the anxiety, the backlash, and use it. So if you tell people you're getting a Batman and Superman team-up movie next, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, it's Batman v Superman. You're blah, blah, blah. But automatically you've generated massive buzz for what that project is. And everybody's going to come at it with big eyes open. And it's just up to you then to knock it out of the park and sell it, right? But you can definitely generate the interest and the attention for a project like that. So we'll see. We'll see. Ooh, here we go. Now we've been in this broadcast long enough. We're getting the real haters are starting to come out. People who did not like this movie. Hey, man, we're excited to hear from you guys too.
I will say you can't denigrate one movie with a bunch of movies that I also like. Because I saw the Marvels and Hancock in there. I went, I like both of those. I'm the guy then. I'm the person who's liking those
Marvels
movies.
The Marvels ain't Wonder Woman 1984, buddy.
I like that movie.
The Marvels is fun. Fun little movie. All right. I feel like we've talked this a little bit to death. Janelle's just sitting here hanging out, collecting a free check today.
I am loving the comment section though.
Comment section is so lively.
And this has been great today.
Do you think this is going to sweep up Fantastic Four, or could they be the new Barbenheimer? I mean, I came out of Superman. My son was like, "Oh, I'm excited for this," and he pointed, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was pointing at Fantastic Four. I was like, "You know about that?" He was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Okay, all right."
I was genuinely considering doing like a double header because my mom's coming to town, and I have like a built-in babysitter, and I'm like, well, I should just do it like both, like one day, just fully commit. But I don't think I could be able to talk the husband into it. That would be an awesome doubleheader to me.
That would be so, and also provide such a unique perspective.
Yeah,
I feel like of like literally seeing them both back to back and going.
But I don't think I can hold out. Like I want to see this film so badly. Like I'm trying
That's
to.
What happened to me?
I have my
crew today, and then or I was gonna wait till last night, and then people started talking. I got mad. I found two Amazon tickets.
Did you figure out the Prime thing? I didn't even know about
FOMO.
it.
Yeah,
I know what I mean.
I was gonna do it, and I was begging my crew, like the people that I always see these films with. We are very loyal to one another, and I'm like, please tell me you guys can go on Tuesday at 7:00, like because that was the only option with the Prime situation, and they were like, no, we're out of town. I was like, gosh. So I'm waiting for them to get back to go see this, and I hate waiting. Like it's like bothering me.
Oh, I know your ADHS is getting antsy over there.
I am. I'm very frustrated.
I think it's actually going to work out for both. I think it's sparked people to want to get back out and get enthusiastic about superhero films again, even if you come away not liking either of them. Like, it's just, oh my God, it's just funny that I think people are just going to be hyped to have this genre they love back at the forefront and in the spotlight at the movies again. So I'm going to be interested to see. And I think a lot of families are going to be out to see Superman. I think it's going to do well. People thinking this is going to crash and burn. I don't think you're right, because again, if you're able to be on this broadcast typing your hate out, I think you're missing the point that there's a whole league of kids that are going to possibly be swept up by this movie. So we'll see. We'll see.
We got, you know what's crazy is that we went this entire thing and didn't mention crypto.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. We did pretty well.
And I think what's awesome about that actually is because there was a very heavy crypto presence in the marketing. The first trailer, right? The first clip we got was
all my mom talks about.
Right. Like, and so what I thought they did well here is that, like, he's great. Crypto's great in this movie, but he doesn't, like, what people aren't leaving going is like, oh, crypto was the best part of the movie. Like, they put a movie there and then they worked a really cute doll into the mix, and he gets great moments, but like, he didn't completely steal the show, right? It wasn't like, oh, or everyone's going to see the dog movie and oh yeah, Superman's over here, whatever. Like, I thought, like, that's good. That's a good thing. That means that you actually had a movie there and you backed it up, and then you just worked in a really cute dog. So I thought that was good. But also, we were playing with the flying crypto that has like helicopter wings, and it's pretty cool. But it has taken out a couple of things in our high shelf. Just putting that out there. There you go. You're welcome.
All right. I think that's it. I think we've done it. I think we've said it all. Crypto. They use that dog to sell movies to you people. Good. Get your money. Get that money from those dog people. But no, in the movie, again, Gunn is a good comedian and he understands like running motifs. And Crypto was an excellent kind of motif in the movie. He shows up exactly when we need him to. He does some things we need him to. He's funny, and then he's out of the frame again. And so they did that. They did that very well. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Sinners, clips, comics, whatever. We did the main thing, so now it's just playtime. All right, we'll be back. Okay, so Sinners is out on streaming, and up until Superman just flew into theaters this week, it's been pretty much one of the biggest things we've seen on movie socials, and one of the biggest trending topics, because all y'all who didn't go out to see that black movie in the theaters are now catching it on streaming. But it's okay. Welcome to the party. So we talked about Sinners when it came out, but we didn't get to talk about it that much here because it came out in a time where things were hectic. And, I think I was like the only person who got out to the theater to see it. Did you guys both get a chance to see it?
Oh, yeah.
Matt,
I did.
So what did you think? Well, first of all, let's see, because I'm always interested when we kind of do this way to see how you guys first thought about it compared to the hype before it.
I'll go first.
I've talked a lot. It's your time to shine.
The first thing I have to say is I am bummed. I am bummed I didn't see this in the theater. The music alone, like, I was watching it on my phone late night last night, and I was like, "This is such a waste." Like, I need this on, like, gigantic speakers so badly. The music, as a big old music person, I was just, like, salivating. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
just
no.
I
One of
loved
the
it.
greatest soundtrack of the year so far,
God,
easily. Like
so good.
Ludwig Göransson is just it's out of control what this man is doing.
This whole I mean, honestly, the film, to me, it was just nothing like what I thought it was. I thought it was gonna be like Get Out or something. I thought it was just gonna be like so scary that is all I'm gonna be having to like force myself to live through, which is why I wasn't excited about it. I don't like the horror genre. So it's not that I wasn't looking forward to it, but I was just kind of like dipping my toe in. I was like, "Oh god." And the fact that it took so long to actually get to like vampires served me so well. Like, I was so in this movie. My husband checked on me. He's like, "What do you think so far?" And I was like, "Honestly, if they don't bring any vampires into this film, I don't care. I just like the story of these people. I'm so obsessed with what's going on in this storyline that they don't even to add that layer. Like, I don't need vampires." Um, so it was just such a beautiful depiction of that time. And I do feel that, like, obviously I've seen a lot of different films with, highlighting this era, but so there's just something really special about this, especially like the storytelling and the way that they talked about like why the prisoners were on, like digging ditches. Like, they didn't show it, they talked about it, the way that they would talk to each other, and it was more haunting that way. It breaks your heart even more. I don't know, it was such a beautiful film. Like, it's hard for me to even really, like, I get goosebumps just like thinking about it. I did finish it this morning, and the way that they wrapped it up at the end with a bow, and it's like creepy, but it's not too creepy. It's scary, but it's not too scary. It's like surprisingly so heartfelt. And I don't know, man. It just totally caught me off guard in the best way I can possibly explain. I love this.
Yeah, I've watched it again. I'm actually gonna watch it again.
I will
This
too.
is a movie that made me really just appreciate movies again this year. Like,
Mhm.
I saw other people posting this, but I just remember when this movie was over in the theater, everybody walked out, and because I saw it like one of the first days it was out, and everybody walked out of my theater, and nobody even stayed for the post credit scene. They didn't know that was coming,
Oh,
and I just sat
so
there and
good.
was like, "Holy shit!" Like, what? And then uh, even when that was over, it was so like it was such a cinematic experience, like the music, the pictures, and just like the soundtrack. Like, I just wanted to hear every last bit of the track that was playing over the credits, and I just sat there. And then you even get a little extra bit at the end with one more musical performance at the very, very end. And I was just like, even when the screen went off and the lights came on, I was just sitting there like, damn. Like, I didn't even want to leave. I was like, can you just run that again, please? Like, I want to do that again. Like, and
Mm.
that's why I just keep watching it. It's just, again, like Superman, but in a very different way, obviously. It is so immersive in its world and its characters, and just every time and it's just a movie like a good horror movie. It's one that makes me want to take the trip over and over again. Like, I just want to watch that movie, and it's going to be one that, like, what am I doing this afternoon? I don't know. I'm going to sit down. I'll put something on. Ooh, Sinners. Like, yeah. And I've already been tempted to start it all over again. But great film. And as the larger swath of people are coming into the streaming release and seeing the conversations kind of spark up, it's been very interesting, because I think there is so much about this movie that is, for the first time, maybe in cinema, very kind of culturally coded for African Americans. There's so much in here. My dad came out of here weeping and told me some stuff Oh God, me and my brothers are still like reeling from that. Like my dad just like, because he's from Mississippi. He was born in 1940, odd. And so while it was different, it wasn't too much different than what he saw in that film. Yeah, and he was just telling us some crazy stories that I didn't even want to hear half of those. But yeah, just all of the deep, and I think I posted on Twitter. There's the last line of the movie that's something like when Michael B. Jordan says, he's like, "Oh, was this?" He asked him, "Was this night like the best night for you?"
Mhm.
And he says, "Oh yeah, last time I saw my brother, last time I saw the sun, and for a couple hours we were free." And that's like, that's such a deeply cultural kind of line to end the movie on. And I get what Ryan Coogler's saying there, but like, yeah, but it's not even just cultural. It's just like, it's an American Friday night, right? That's why they're so special. You have to deal with everything all week: stress, pain, loss, disappointment, all that. But Friday night, if you have something fun to do with people you love to do it with, you go out, whether it's dancing, drinking, singing, whatever it is, gaming, whatever it is, for those hours, that feeling, that freedom, that enjoyment of life, like how important that is. Just a great movie that's essentially about that. And how mad it can all go. But yeah. So I say all that to say, it's a full moon, it's Friday. Everybody get your sin on. All right, but no, it was good. It's good to catch up with you guys and talk about Sinners. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it.
Chimera said,
Hey, how did you
wait,
feel
who
when
said,
that music scene popped off?
oh gosh. I mean, honestly, all the music scenes were amazing, but I liked All in the Game spinoff with Native American vampire hunters. I loved that as well. That
Yeah, we have
aspect.
an article about this. I wrote it. There's several spin-offs that people are already
That'd be
interested
so
in that
cool.
I would love to see. I'd love to see
Mhm.
the prequel with the twins in Chicago and World
Ugh,
War One and all of that
yes.
stuff. And that'd be a great kind of gangster crime drama movie. That'd be excellent. The Native American Hunters, as I said, that'd be a great streaming feature for like HBO Max. Just do like a straight hour, 20-minute feature about who the Choctaw Choctaw tribe or the Choctaw Nation was, how they came to see vampires, like how they learned to fight vampires, all that stuff would be great. And I also said one about Remick would be great. Jack O'Connell's killing it. If you've seen 28 Years Later and this movie, he's killing it this year, Jack O'Connell. But seeing, Remick was very interesting. If you don't know history, there's a lot of brushstrokes he drops about the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland in the 12th
Mhm.
century, if you don't know your European history. But yeah, even what we call white today it's not a real culture. These people used to be at war with each other all the time. And so, like, yeah, the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, him becoming a vampire. I loved what this movie did for vampirism as a metaphor, as kind of like cultural assimilation, cultural theft, that type of thing. So seeing Remick go through history, trying to quote unquote build fellowship, trying to find a place, trying to find a family, and constantly kind of like having that fall apart would be interesting as well. So yeah, man. Yeah. And Gunn's talked with Coogler. So yeah, they're all at WB right now. WB's holding some cards. You got, two of the most buzzed about movies right now. So where would you like to see Ryan Coogler in the DCU if there was a place?
Oh
Blade?
man.
Look at that.
Let's see. Oh boy.
And
Be like
let's
can
keep
we
it
get like a
racy, guys.
WWE
It doesn't have
draft
to
where
be a
like we
black
trade
movie.
directors?
What's
Like
that?
can we get like a WWE draft where like directors switch brands? And so like we can get like Coogler. We can get a couple people like
Everybody immediately went to Wow. Okay. I said it didn't have to be a black movie, guys, but you all overruled me and said Static Shock, which, yes.
Look, okay, only okay. Well, that one writes itself because number one, Michael B. Jordan's attack to Static Shock, and all the recent reports of that have been like, oh, we don't know where it is, and that one's tied up in like copyright and weird legal dealings because of like the nature of that deal. But like, boy, I'm always up for another Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan team up. So you could take any character and put those two attached, then I'd be interested. Oh man, that's You know what I would, man? Okay, I know this is like my answer almost all the time, depending on what we're talking about. But man, I would love to see him do Justice League Dark. I think that would be such a cool. We could see like his dealings with,
Ooh.
because that book is very mysticism based and is very based in like dark magics and all that stuff, and can very much like be a Sinners style playground for him to play in with a bunch of oddball characters. I think he could, I would love to see what he did with that,
That
because
would
we've already
be
seen him build a world with Wakanda. We've already seen what he can do in that kind of big aspect. What can he do in the world of magic? And then if you get what he's already been doing in Sinners, a little bit of that sprinkled in, that could be cool as hell. It could be awesome.
that would be like I said, it didn't have to be a quote unquote like black leading movie as people would assume. So Justice League Dark for me, that'd be great for Coogler. Like I think he'd make that cool. He would make that kind of stylistic and fun in a different way while doing kind of the horror stuff. I think he would also get characters like, he'd do justice for characters like Brother Blood, stuff like that, like all that kind of stuff for the voodoo of it all. I was trying to think it up, and you said legality, so I don't know how that would shake out. But, shout out to the late, great Dwayne McDuffie, but let's dust off Milestone. If we're going to go black, let's dust off Milestone. Let's get into, because some of that stuff has tried to come back recently. Let's get into Hardware, Icon, Static, Cobalt. Like, let's do this. Let's dust off some of these heroes, remember? Don't change our characters. Make your own. Well, we did. Let's dust some of them off and give them to Ryan Coogler and have them make them cool. Like I would love to see Hardware or Icon done right. Like
I think that's the way, though. Like just do the whole universe, like because that's what leads to all these complications, right? Is like, well, you can have this character with, it's very Sony Spider-Man MCU. That's where all the complications come in. It's like, what can you use? What can't you use? Well, it's tied over here. There's all that stuff. And if you just go, well, let's just do the whole thing.
Yep.
That's, to me, that clears the runway a little bit. Oh man, that would be amazing. Give him a whole world.
give him. I mean, in Gunn, you never know. He might dust off all those Milestone properties and be like, yo, we got demographics over here. Let's make something happen. Like, let's do it. And Coogler's going to make it right. So I'd love to see that. All right, so that's Sinners. That's movie talk this week. Man, we're like a real podcast over here. We just talked about movies for an hour. Let's get into some other stuff. Let's talk about some comics.
Yeah, let's let me switch it up because we haven't done a lot of Marvel today. So let's talk Fantastic Four first. Let's give a little Marvel shine to Fantastic Four #1. Which this is a book that everyone knows here I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four person, but I got to give credit to Marvel Rivals for making me an Invisible Woman fan and the Thing fan, because man,
the whole squad's pretty tight in that game.
Yeah, pretty good. And so then we get this new book announced as well. I'm like, okay, like I already like Ryan North, and all right, and what are we doing with the Fantastic Four? Well, if you don't know, the premise of this book is that essentially, and this has been in solicits and stuff, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling, but we are going to get into spoilers on this, so FYI. Premise of this book is like, hey, the Fantastic Four is named that for a reason, because this is a family of four that has grown to be like kind of this machine, right? They operate so well as a superhero team, but all of that is tied to them as family members and that bond and that closeness. Well, what if we split that and let's see what happens? And so Doom, in all of his actually very smart very smart strategy here, goes, all right, I'm tired of getting hit by all of y'all at the same time. So we're just gonna send each of you into different time periods and see how you do on your own. And so the whole team gets split and they all get sent into the different time periods. And now we got to see like, hey, it's time to swim, right? So what are we going to do? It's a very interesting premise. And I before I give my thoughts on like the book and everything, what did you guys see? Because I think the premise is, that's what led me to choose this anyway.
I don't like Fantastic Four comics at all. I really don't. I've never been a fan of them, but Ryan North kind of cracked the code, There's a movie coming out at the end of this month with Allison Brie and Dave Franco, who are a real life married couple, and it's called Together. It's a horror movie, and it's about relationships and codependency and taking that idea of being codependent to a body horror extreme. And I saying that because this is kind of doing the reverse. It's examining their codependency by splitting them up, which I immediately found very interesting because that's what it's about. It's about, how much these four rely on each other. And so like when they are split up, they're all like, oh crap, and they're put in these specific places that do not cater to them individually. And they're relying on each other through blind faith to kind of save each other. Yeah, that's a very interesting way of both isolating and examining each character individually in ways we haven't done in years. Like, there are things in this book that I forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, Johnny can do science. Like, Johnny is smart. He knows about science. This is a team of astronauts and scientists, right? And oh, right, Sue is an archaeologist. That is actually like her field of study and expertise. But all of this, so we're getting to see them shine individually, but we're also kind of getting this examination of why they're important to each other and why they are in some ways kind of codependent on each other. And so it's working on a lot of levels, but it's still very, like we say about first issues, right? This is such a straightforward, simple concept to follow that it makes reading the book easy. And it's essentially 4 chapters, and each chapter is interesting and has stakes and has, a conflict and a problem that is actually, important and needs to be figured out. So I thought it was really well done for how to kind of approach a Fantastic Four story.
I loved this. This was a page turner for me. I was just like in it. I forgot what was happening around me, and I wasn't worried about too many words or like not really into the story and a little distracted. And I love when I have moments like that because I have ADHD severely. So whenever something like really, we're going to say the word, sucks me in, that I'm very excited about it. Also, can we just talk about the end? I mean, the end is so gripping and chilling, and it's very scary. Like, it leaves you off just going, wait, you can't stop there. Like, hold on. I love a cliffhanger that actually like leaves you hanging and you're just like, oh, okay, I need to know what's happening. I very rarely get those, especially with like comics, or I think I do. But this one to me was very intense. I'm so glad you had me read this because I want to be more familiar with these characters. And kind of listening to you guys talk about, Fantastic Four comics, I'm like, which ones do I read? Like, seems like they're not everybody's favorites. This made me love these characters and understand them more just with one issue. So job well done before this movie comes out. I'm excited.
Yeah, we don't and Alex, it's one of the things I think Kofi highlighted it when he said that like this. So like this isn't, there is actually I think it's actually released this week too, a official tie-in like to the movie that released in comics this week as well, where you can actually like, it's kind of like set in that world of the movie and stuff. So there is that.
Oh, wow.
But this one to me, this one was really good about, it tells its own story, right? It's not tied to like the MCU or anything like that. So this is like a straight up Fantastic Four in comics continuity. And it is in continuity because it is dealing with all the Sorcerer Doom stuff, or Emperor Doom at this point, right? So like it is dealing with all that. But what I think this does really well is what Kofi was saying was like remind you of like who these people are individually. And then also, hey, what they really help each other with as a team and as a family. So if you need a refresher on those aspects, I think you could start with this, and then you're already in for what looks to be a really engaging story on its own, but you've also got a nice refreshing idea of like who these people are going into the movie. Obviously the movie's going to do its own things, right, with these characters, and I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm completely ignorant to that, but I do think this does a good job of reminding you like why the Fantastic Four can be cool and can be a cool concept. So I'm not the biggest fan of those characters in the comics in general. I'm going to be sticking with this because I am intrigued. They, as Janelle said, like that cliffhanger is really good. But like, even after the first chapter, there's a whole Johnny chapter. I was like, are we going to leave? We can't.
Yeah.
I gotta know what happens here. I have so many questions. So yeah, very good. Easily recommend. And then I also want to give a shout out to Edgar Delgado and Humberto Ramos and Travis Lanham, the amazing creative team on this alongside Ryan North. They did a great job. Some of the Sue stuff, the way they handle like all of her powers and how they are kind of on the spritz, the Human Torch stuff, I thought looked great. So there's a lot of great artwork in this as well. Let's move over to Absolute Superman now. Have an update. Moving forward, Kofi should be good. He's going to be on the DC Absolutes. If it should be good, moving forward. I don't know if you had a chance to read this one because of when it happened.
Reading it now.
Okay. So Absolute Superman number 9. This one, we obviously, speaking of cliffhangers, we left off with a pretty big one last month when old Soups had taken that kryptonite bullet, or actually a couple kryptonite bullets. And so we saw him kind of leaving with the Omega Men, and Lois was kind of left behind with Lazarus, and that was a decision, right? It was to save him. And so this picks up right after that. And for as centered on Superman and like the current fire of saving his life as this is, there's like a ton of world building here, because we are touching on not even world building, just like world acknowledgement. There's a lot of moving parts here, because like we get a little bit of what's going on to Lazarus, we get stuff with Roz, we get reveals of like what's going on with the Omegas and like their mission, we get insight into Jimmy and who he is in this, and then we also get all of this kind of central Superman internal conflict stuff, right? This is a Superman who, kind of like the movie, just wants to help people, and it's sometimes incredibly infuriating that is so difficult at times, and especially in this world, because this world, unlike the James Gunn Superman, is much darker, and so we deal with that kind of front and center. Janelle, what did you think of this?
Honestly, I've been loving Absolute Superman so much, but reading it after the Fantastic Four book just did not serve me. It was a little serious. It was obviously like hard to watch, I guess, hard to read, in that aspect of, you just really, really feel for this guy. Like I just feel like there's no winning in this, and I don't know what the end game is. I don't know what the win would be here, because it just seems like everything is wrong and everything is corrupt, and everything was corrupt on his homeworld, and everything sucks on the world he's on now, and all the people are bad. And I just don't, it's starting to get so negative that I don't have any glimmer of hope. I'm like even thinking of like, he wants to run away because he's feeling overwhelmed and that he's going to start hurting people. But like at this point, I'm kind of team hurt people. Like I'm like, just kill people. Like, like I want him to just kill, like, and it doesn't feel honorable that he's not. It just feels like he's like fighting urges. I don't know. It's not clicking for me anymore. And I think it's just because it's just gotten so hopeless. Like there is just, I don't know what the win would be. What, that him and Lois can be together, even though she's like so hardened and been doing shady stuff I don't know. I just don't know where we're going with this. I just wish that it would have stayed a little less heavy, or I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it, but they kind of lost me with this one.
Interesting. Kofi, did you check out enough that you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah. I think what's starting to happen is we are, from these books, and even something like Martian Manhunter, we're beginning to be reminded that this universe is a dark universe. This is universe that Darkseid created in his own image. And so, like, the fundamental idea here is always been the overarching kind of story here is, are these heroes powerful enough icons to kind of birth or foster hope in a world of hopelessness? Because this is a hopeless world. That's what Darkseid is. That's the difference between this world is the main universe is one still of light and hope, and this one is created by the Dark Lord. So having to have Superman still become the Superman we know and love in this universe is going to be a much different and harder journey. And what it means to be hopeful in a world that is seemingly without hope is kind of both the trick they got to pull off and an important message that, if they can pull it off, is supposed to resonate right now, right? Because the world to some people looks very hopeless every day. So, you know, it's going to, not to be cheesy with that Dark Knight quote, but it is going to get dark before the dawn here. And like, I think we had the easy kind of beginning, but as we're digging deeper into this, we are seeing the elements. I think this world, unlike Ultimate Marvel, where it straight up is just telling you in the beginning, like, hey, there's this evil world made by an evil man, ruled by evil people, and they're ever present. This approach has been a little bit more secretive. Like, we don't see all the evil immediately here. It's starting to kind of make itself known and seen, like that jail cell with Ra's al Ghul, which is, you know, again, it's beginning to show the darker underbelly of what's going on in this world. So it's not losing me. I think it does need to pull together in some kind of bigger event or bigger kind of point to what Lazarus is doing and how it all connects. But I think we're starting to go that direction.
I think that it's such a good point both of you have, because I think, and this book is the one to both have to delve more into those darker elements, because it is dealing with the biggest pieces of this world so far. Wonder Woman is still kind of siloed in a way, and even when it goes outside of her main story, it's dealing with the gods and it's dealing with other things, right? So that's kind of over here. Batman is still largely in Gotham, dealing with the symptoms of this world, right? It's dealing with all of the stuff that has been able to live in this world because of the world that Darkseid created. Superman is actually dealing with Darkseid's world and the bigger figures in it more than anybody else. So I feel like that's a good thing, but it's also like you're going to get hit in the face with darkness, like low hope. I do think what this issue and the series has done really well, though, is like you find the hope where you can, and those moments of seeing Lois stand up for this person against the biggest, most powerful person in this world that she knows, and against an entire organization, because she's actually somehow found something that's clicked and is inspired by this person, says a lot, right? And like when she has that whole conversation, it's like, nah, I don't, she doesn't apologize. She doesn't regret anything. She's like, nope. And you're going to change when you meet him, right? All of that. She even threatens him. It was a Paul Heyman. This isn't a threat. It's a spoiler statement from Lois Lane. Okay. So like, I think that is those moments are like the moments of hope that you kind of have to catch on to, because like, yeah, this is a hard place. And this Superman is one navigating this world without many of the central tenets that you have in the main world, right? That whole thing with his mom, with, Ma Kent, is heartbreaking. Even in the issues before, right? Because like she's there for him, but not really right now. He has to almost be more there for her, and she doesn't even remember him sometimes. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have his Lois. He doesn't have his Jimmy. He's navigating this without a compass, and all he's trying to do is just help people. It's one of those things that like you watch it and it's hard. It's a very difficult journey, but I'm still inspired that despite all of that, he caught the bullet. Despite all of his internal conflicts, he caught the bullet anyway. He said, I almost let you do it, but I didn't. And there's also something very relatable about like someone being constantly told what they are and who they are and not allowed to discover that for themselves. And he's lived his life kind of like that. He's always been told people. Like, there's a lot of things I really think about this, but I'm giving it
Well, it's
a
fun.
I'm sorry.
It's great and it's meta because it's kind of like it's tackling the debate of who Superman is in the modern world, like kind of head on. And Superman having Superman himself kind of being kind of tired of it is a little bit funny. It's kind of a very ironic kind of winking way to do it, especially this week when we're getting this film, right? So it is kind of it was a funny little winking thing, but yeah. All right.
I dig it. All right. So real quick, Matt's agenda is really quick this week, but that's because it's all wrestling this whole weekend. Nothing but wrestling. There's 4 shows this weekend. And so if you are a fan of wrestling, I feel like you can find something. Saturday, it kicks off with 2 pay-per-views, or 1 premium live event and 1 pay-per-view, I should say. At the same time, we have NXT's Great American Bash. And then we have AEW All In. Essentially, really it feels like, AEW's WrestleMania. I mean, AEW All In always has that kind of stature with it. And then later in the night, there is also another event, WWE Saturday night's main event, that will be where Goldberg versus Gunther takes place over on All In. There's some huge matches. We'll actually have an interview with Swerve Strickland going up later today, which I'm very excited about. He's got a great match alongside Will Ospreay against the Young Bucks. We have Tony Storm versus Mercedes Moné, Okada versus Omega. We got all kinds of stuff for that show. It's going to be a fun one. And then on Sunday night, there is WWE Evolution, the return of the all-women's pay-per-view that I've been wanting for years. It's finally here. And Janelle's watching. Janelle, no!
I'm not gonna watch. I'm gonna
watch it.
Clips. Like I always watch.
Boo!
When people
share. Where's my soundboard?
I can't watch a whole entire thing. I have too many other things. Listen.
Blah blah blah.
Listen, but I watched the moments.
Fine.
Yeah,
fine.
The big pivotal moments.
Fine. Watch some blah. Anyway, so that is Evolution. I will be covering all of it for old comic book. So we'll be having all kinds of wrestling coverage this weekend. Lots of big moments. Hoping for some cool returns, some great matches. It should be fun. So that is wrestling this weekend. There's a ton of it. You probably find something you love, but that is my agenda this week.
All right. And that'll do it for Matt's agenda. And now Hip Hop Nation. Clip back, baby. I got up in the middle of the night and I started listening, and they had me bumping, so I was up for a hot minute. Let God sort them out. What'd you think? Have you listened so far, Matt?
I've listened to the first half. I haven't been able to finish the whole thing. But
Glorious Bastards Glorious Bastards is fire. That's clips with Ab Liva. It's great. It's great. There's
a couple of great tracks already.
The first track had me emotional. That first track had me emotional. Birds Don't Sing. Yeah, that's like, it's real, man. That's about both their parents dying. I was like, that's what I live in fear of these days. It's just this good time I'm in my life when it eventually has to end. And I'm like, man, I know after one of my parents' funerals, I'm going to be playing that song. I was like, oh boy, I don't know, it was heavy. But, then we get into a Kendrick verse. Yeah, it's clips are back, baby.
I heard part of the Kendrick verse, right? When they leaked it and all that, and they've been talking about it. And I was like, oh, that's a good snippet. Full thing's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. I forgot how, it'd been so long since we'd heard them together. Oh, and I know there was that one off, but I forgot what listening to a full Clips album is. That's fantastic.
Matt, I watched K-pop Demon Hunters and I'm obsessed. So do you like me again?
Yes, you made up for Evolution.
Absolutely loved it. The music is so good, the storyline is so good, the animation is beautiful. Yeah.
It's great. See?
movie.
This has
You
been
guys,
Comic Book Nation, the only show that
Wait,
doesn't offer
Kobe,
geek
wait.
culture.
Hip hop, before Hip Hop Nation ends, what do you think about What Did I Miss? What
Oh,
did you think? What did you think?
I mean, it's a banger. It's another Drake banger. I mean,
It's a good
it's classic Drake banger. That video of the rollout video with him yelling at people from a truck was a little crazy, but I mean, as far as
the regular video wasn't that crazy. You can't stand. I don't know. You can't where that video opens. You can't do that when you have a lawsuit. You can't do that.
I mean,
Stop it.
I don't know if this is the time to be calling yourself Iceman. You know what I mean? Like, all of it's a little suspect. But it was a classic Drake banger, and it seems like maybe the back half of summer we might be heating up here because, as somebody posted, we haven't had a song of summer yet, which is crazy. So
Yeah, we haven't, have we?
all right, this has been Hip Hop Nation with a little K-pop invasion. All right. We're going to get out of here. This is Comic Book Nation. We want everybody to have fun. There's a Superman movie out. There's a Clips album out. It's a full moon. It's going to be a wild Friday. Everybody be safe. Everybody have fun. We'll see you here next week as we talk about more content. We'll be ready to talk more spoilers about Superman and the future of the DCU, probably gearing up for Fantastic Four, plus a whole lot of other fun stuff because you know what's also not too far away? The Comic-Con. All right. So, I'm Kofi Outlaw, Janelle Wheeler, Matthew Aguilar. Thanks for hopping on with me this morning. This is Comic Book Nation. We are out. Peace.
This is